Hey, this is the Daily Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now today, let's talk ASO with Steve P. Young. Okay, so today we have our first ever interview. So I've been trying to arrange this since last year, a little conversation with Steve P. Young. Now, if you've been in the app industry for a while, you probably heard of his name or listened to his podcast. He hosts the podcast App Masters, the audio podcast, and he also has his YouTube channel. And it's a little bit similar to mine. I know we have a lot of the same viewers, so a lot of you probably already know who he is, but he talks a lot more about ASO specifically, where sometimes I will mention ASO, sometimes I'll talk about other things, or about the development side of things, but he'll do things in a much more scientific way, like taking a look at sensor tower and mobile action and comparing them. A lot of really good content over on his channel. So let me go ahead and start the video here, but let me first say that I was a bit nervous. I don't know why. All of a sudden I got really nervous, so I ramble on a little bit and don't let him talk enough, so I hope that doesn't ruin it for you. Anyway, here's the interview with Steve. Okay, everyone, so today I'm meeting with Steve P. Young. Now, for those of you guys who've been in the app industry for a while, you may have heard his podcast. I mean, I've listened to his podcast for the last few years, and he's been doing a lot of stuff on YouTube lately. And a lot of times I'll talk about, I talk really badly about sensor tower and mobile action and some of these big ASO tools, right? Because I always think they're a bit expensive. I never understand what I'm doing. No matter what I'm doing, I always seem to need to upgrade. But a lot of what I do, what I say at the beginning of every video is that I make apps. I'm an app developer. And when it comes to like the science of ASO, I'm not like a scientist. Like I'll do what works for my applications, and then that's it. And I might try to go back and look at, theorize about why it was. But when you watch Steve Young, hey Steve, by the way, I might be small. We're trying out Google Hangouts for the first time. Like I said, this is my first ever interview. So anyway, so if you watch Steve's videos, he'll take a lot of scientific explanations of things from the ASO, and always watching how the algorithms change, and a lot of spreadsheets, and here's a column for mobile action, here's a column for sensor tower, and so many times. So actually, let me say hello, Steve. How's it going?
What's up, Eric? I didn't want to bother you because Google Hangouts flipped, so I was like, let's keep it on one handsome guy at the moment.
I'm so used to just being the one talking that I don't even like. You're just gonna stand there and wave. So I've been watching a lot of your videos lately, and sometimes I'll comment on them, and sometimes when I comment on them, other people say, "Hey, Eric, you watch Steve Young too?" And I say, "Yeah," and kind of everybody should. I think the app industry is, I mean, it's in one way it's so large because there's so everybody's an app developer these days. My grandmother's an app developer, right? That could be a joke, but nobody really talks about working the algorithms, and it's a market that changes all the time. So I'm really glad that you're here, Steve. I want to ask you to ask a few questions, and also just to get to know you a bit more, because I'm starstruck watching your.
I'm starstruck. I am on the Overpass channel. I was like looking at Eric, and I'm like, dude, gotta have me on. I've been begging Eric just to come on, so I'm thankful that he finally said yes.
Cool. So I think the first thing I want to ask is, like, most of the people who watch my channel, they're app developers like me. So we all kind of did the same thing. We developed we developed an app. We put our heart and souls into it. We put it up onto the App Store, and we told everybody about it and said this is going to be huge. And then nothing happens. Nobody finds it, right? So I mean, as somebody who, after the fact, after we release it, after we've already given it a title, an icon, and then we go, hey, what's this ASO stuff? And then afterwards we go and find that. So as somebody who lives and breathes ASO, do you think, I mean, what kind of advice do you usually give to people who are just starting out?
Literally just created this video, Eric, where ASO is just a piece of the puzzle. And I think you do a very good job of talking about ASO and the impact of it. You've done some phenomenal, so just to toot your horn a little bit, you've done some phenomenal work on the ASO. And I've watched a couple of your videos. I'm like, that's a good tool. I didn't even know about it, like Uber suggests. But ASO is just a piece of the puzzle. So if you think about ASO, it's like, what if I told you, Eric, there's a channel that will get you downloads and you don't have to pay for it, right? Like, What do you think about that channel? And that's what ASO is all about. It's like, how do you drive downloads based off of things that people might be searching for? And so if you think about that angle and then how it feeds into your overall marketing plan, just like YouTube is your part of your overall marketing plan, ASO should be a part of your overall app business plan, marketing plan as well.
Cool. I mean, so I think one of the things, because I started with my first app in 2012, so it's like, and I've seen things change a lot, and it seems to get harder and harder to do it. I mean, do you think that somebody just starting out today, do you think that they need to do you think paid acquisition is necessary these days, or do you think it's still possible to go out there spending no money at all and still rise up the ranks?
I have a friend who started, now he started early on in the days like us too, but he built an entire 7-figure business basically off of ASO, and that's
really
it. Now, it's not something that you can just automatically do, right? He focuses more on the long tail of the app business, on the long tail of everything, and he has a ton of apps. So he's playing a quantity type of game. But what I will say is it's both, right? Like the way I think about it is ASO will get you only so far. So if you want to grow, you might have to spend a little bit more money. You have to put acquisition dollars, which is then in turn going to help your ASO and your keyword rankings, which in turn helps you can afford to pay a little bit more. So it all feeds into each other. But at the beginning, the biggest mistake that I see app developers make is, hey, I've got a cool name, right, for an app name. It's called Tingle or whatever it is, right? And then frankly, it's like, hey, Eric, just launched this app. Like, it's called Tingle. Check it out. And you're like, okay, let me go to the app store and Tingle. And it's like, which one are you? And you just can't find it, right?
Yeah.
And I think people are making that mistake. You think you're going off your gut, like that just sounds good as an app name, and not using data. And things that simple like what you talked about with App Annie, you can look at what keywords show, or like you put that Tingle keyword into App Annie and you say, how many apps show up for that particular keyword? If it's a small amount of apps, you're probably going to rank number 1 for it. So I think that's the biggest mistake. It's like your friends can't even find your app, and you make a silly mistake about naming your app the way you did.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it's there's some, when I think about people in like in the ASO space, like you, right? I think that's the kind of thing that's the kind of thing I want to do myself, because I do everything myself. That's why like I'm inefficient, right? But I also think about it as, if you talk about like talk about Hollywood, right? The actors don't go out and promote themselves. They focus on their craft. And like developers focus on like development and stuff like that. So this is one of the things I've been thinking about recently. Like every time for me, it's always looking at the numbers and thinking about the titles and following the trends of the app markets. Because I can remember at one point, some of my titles on Apple were like really long. It was practically a sentence, right? And now it's been getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and pretty soon it's just going to be like one word, right? So I mean, when you meet with new people, I mean, what kind of things do you do with them? Like, so let's say I come to you and I say, hey, Steve, I've released this Flappy Birds clone and nobody's downloading it. How can you help me?
I said, get the hell out of here. Like, I can't do anything with that clone. It's like, unless you did something else to improve the game, I would say, like, your effort is going to be well spent on doing something else. Or I'll give you a couple of different campaigns to run, like my pay to free campaign that you can use to grow those downloads. But in the grand scheme of things, I always say, look, this is your first step into the app business. And so whatever your next step is, focus a little bit more on this. This is just step 1. It's like, congratulations, you made an app. Now focus your efforts on something bigger and not just a clone, because those were hot for a little bit and then goes all
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm starting to think that reskinning is dead. I mean, I think I reskinned one. There's one time where I reskinned it. I mean, I'm not reskinning my own apps with my own code, but like I purchased an app and reskinned it, and Google took it off like the next day. I was like, I wasn't expecting that from Google, but anyway, so that was but I can remember back in like 2013, like everybody was into reskinning. There were books like How to Get Rich with Reskinning, and then and this is one of the reasons why I think that we have all this trouble with like Apple and 4.3 is because there's so much junk in the App Store, and we're kind of all being unfairly penalized. But so like, what kind of things that when you were going through and studying things, what kind of things have really surprised you? Because there's one thing that, actually, let me just say this first because I'm unfocused. right? The I was working with a client, and I was telling him that we were going to go ahead and, I mean, he knew about you, and he's, you know, he called you, and I said I was going to go through and put some keywords in the Spanish Mexico, or the was it Spanish US keyword field for iTunes. He said, "Oh, is that a Steve Young trick?" And I said, "Yes, it's a Steve Young trick." But so I mean, so what other kind of things that when you were doing some research really surprised you? That, like, you know, dude, I can't believe that worked.
Yeah, that's funny. It's not my trick. I mean, it's just maybe I've been the most vocal out of it. But the one surprising thing is that trick. So it's people get confused about this all the time. Eric, I was on a webinar and it's like, wait, but Mexicans don't convert that well. And it's like, yo, dude, so the trick is the US App Store indexes the Spanish Mexico localization. So it's literally like, if you know SEO, it's like saying, hey, I'm going to give you another page title. I'm going to give you another content, a blog post that you can write, and Google is going to index both pages and give it sort of equal weight. And you're going to be indexed for all the content that is on one page and the other page. And they can have two different like the content pieces could be different, but it all plays into one app, right? Or all plays into one page. And that's how you think about it. It's like, how can I use that Spanish Mexico localization so that I can target more US users? And it's the same for, I don't know if the UK is only probably UK, but same for other countries too. Like Japan has other localizations that you can use. So if you put Chinese, I don't know if the right keyword is this, but if you put Japanese characters into the China localization, you can benefit in Japan. So that localization, the thing I wanted to point out with that is if you have to hack the app name for the Spanish Mexico localization. So I had one client where we had the keywords in the US subtitle, and then we moved it into the Spanish Mexico title, and we went up 3 spots. And so it's about using that title to your advantage, because if you think about the priority and the weight of each thing for ASO, the app name on Google Play too. So anytime I say iOS, I'm like, does this work for a Google Play? Yes. All right. So app name's going to have its most weight, and then the subtitle or short description, and then the keywords or long description on Google Play. So that's the weight. So if you think about that, how do you hack it? Well, you have keywords that you want in the Spanish Mexico app name. So the US app name title is different from the Spanish Mexico. And I usually it's always different.
Cool. And there's no problem putting like English into the Spanish Mexico. Putting English.
Eric, you want exclusive? Here it is. Here's another hack. So if it doesn't work, because hi Apple, they started realizing that we're doing this. And so they would remove the Spanish Mexico localization. They would approve your app. You would know nothing. You're like, this is great. All right, all done. But I was like, how come we're not ranking well for this keyword? I know it's very low competition. I know I should be ranking well for this. I should be number 2 for this, but I'm not ranking for it. It's because they don't allow you to do it. So you got approved. It's just that Spanish Mexico localization didn't get approved. They won't tell you though. They're like, hey, I know what you're doing. They're all English. So here's what you do. Very simple. You ready for this? Mind blowing strategy. Use Spanish. That's it. Like go to Google Translate, just use Spanish and get it in there and just have Apple approve it. Because once it's approved, they probably won't look at it again. Right, Apple? Don't look at this. Don't watch this. I know Overpass people. I know Apple's watching you, Eric. And so that's the way around it.
Yeah, oh yeah, they do. Yeah, I'm huge. I'm huge at Apple. No, they will. I call that one getting one past the goalie, because every so often you get something approved, and I'll mention on the video, and people say, I didn't think you were allowed to do that. And I said, no, they let me. And then like the next update, it gets rejected. I think, oh, that just got past them. So, it's always nice to try to get that. I can remember in the early days of the app where we had all these mastermind groups, and people would talk about if you published at a certain time of day, it was better than other times of day, which I think was just a myth. I think because we didn't know anything, it's like superstition almost for, doing that. So, I mean, do you find Google Play a lot more difficult than iOS or Apple iTunes Connect?
In a sense that it's not as fun because I don't have this other localization to play with, but the process is entirely the same. And so Google Play, I think what I've seen is it's a lot harder to get an app going, where iOS, I feel like it's easy to get going, and Google Play, it's a lot harder to get going. But once it's going, some of my clients that I work with on Google Play that already have some traction and are moving, well, we're able to increase downloads for them using the same type of strategies that we use on iOS, just using data. So everything is data driven for me.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. Well, dude, I have no other questions.
Awesome.
Did you? I mean, I know you've got your course, right? You've got App Masters.
I don't need to promote anything, Eric.
What?
I'm just thankful for you to have me.
All right, look, everybody. Good. But all right. So he's not promoting anything, but do check out Steve's channel because you guys ask a lot of questions sometimes along the ASO things, and me a lot of times with me it's gut feeling, and then I'll implement something and check back to see how it is. And I can't tell you how many times I've tried something and I think, oh, this is going to be huge, and then I go back 3 days later and nothing's happened, right? So it's it's good to talk to you about using the tools and everything like that. And I think it's almost like it's like some of these like we're using it. Sorry, going off on a tangent again, but we like using Adobe tools, and somebody who's like a designer makes really good use of that, and somebody who's just learning it doesn't. I think it's the same with probably Sensor Tower or Mobile Action, where I go into it and I just think, man, why is this so hard? But anyway, thank you very much, Steve. It's been great talking to you.
Well, Eric, I do want to say if your listeners or your viewers have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I make it pretty easy, and I do these coaching calls where I get on one-on-one with somebody and really analyze their app and any questions that they might have of it. The only ask that I have is that I get to record it so I can put it on the podcast. But that's it.
And then I get to watch it. That's cool. All right, cool. All right. All right, thanks a lot, Steve.
All right, brother.
Hey, I hope that was useful. Go ahead and check out his channel. I'll put a link down in the description. That's it for today. That's it for this week. I'll talk to you guys on Monday.